How did learning your partner's family language ruin your relationship? I downloaded my first Korean learning app 18 months before everything fell apart. Jin and I had been dating for 6 months, and I'd just survived another family dinner where his parents spoke exclusively in Korean while Jin translated selected pieces. His grandmother had said something that made everyone laugh except Jin, who'd changed the subject immediately. What did she say? I'd asked in the car. Jin hesitated too long. Just that you seem nice. The pause told me everything. That night, I decided to learn Korean properly. I'd surprise them at a future gathering. I hired a tutor named Yoonji. Jin had no idea. I kept the apps hidden, studied only when he wasn't around. 6 months in, I understood basic conversations. A year in, I followed everything at family dinners while pretending ignorance, and I started catching what Jin didn't translate. Comments about my appearance that Jin softened into compliments. Remarks about my career being too demanding for a proper wife. Questions about whether I could give them grandchildren. His aunt once said in Korean that my hips looked too narrow for childbearing, and Jin had translated it as, she thinks your dress is nice. His uncle mentioned Americans being too independent, and Jin said, he's asking about your work. I started keeping a mental list, noting the gaps between what was said and what Jin chose to share. When his mother asked in Korean if I knew how to make kimchi, Jin told me she was complimenting my outfit. When his father said I seemed too old to be starting a family, Jin said his father wanted to know about my job. The lying was designed to keep me comfortable while his family evaluated me and found me wanting. I told myself Jin was protecting me from their judgment, but part of me wondered if he was protecting himself from having to choose between us. Jin's 30th birthday dinner was my planned reveal. His mother was hosting at their Fort Lee house, and I'd spent weeks perfecting a speech in Korean thanking his family for welcoming me. I'd memorized every word, practiced the pronunciation until it was flawless, but Jin had been tense for weeks leading up to it. I'd catch fragments through the door, words I now understood like duty and family expectations and not forever. My stomach would twist, but I told myself I was being paranoid. The morning of the birthday dinner, Jin was unusually quiet during breakfast. I asked if he was okay, and he said he was fine, just tired from work, but his hands were shaking slightly as he poured coffee, and he avoided meeting my eyes. I should have pressed harder, but I was too focused on my surprise to pay attention to the warning signs. The night of the dinner, Jin was silent during the drive to Fort Lee. I tried making conversation, asking about his day, but he responded in monosyllables. When I asked directly what was wrong, he said, nothing, just stressed about work. But it was the look of a man walking towards something he dreaded. His parents' house was already full when we arrived. At least 20 relatives crowded into the living room. Jin's mother, Mrs. Park, greeted us at the door with her usual smile that never reached her eyes. She said something in Korean to Jin, and he tensed before responding. I caught enough to understand she was asking why we were late. Everyone was waiting. Jin apologized in Korean, and she waved it away, but her eyes lingered on me with that assessing look I'd seen dozens of times. Dinner was elaborate, the kind of spread that takes all day to prepare. I was seated between Jin and his cousin, across from his parents. The conversation flowed in Korean, fast and animated, and for the first time I understood almost everything. They talked about family gossip initially. Someone's daughter who'd gotten into medical school, someone's son who'd bought a house, a cousin getting married in the spring. Jin participated minimally, responding when directly addressed but mostly focusing on his food. I noticed his mother watching him, her expression shifting between concern and something sharper, something that looked like determination. Then Mrs. Park brought out the birthday cake, and the tone shifted. The casual family chatter stopped, and a heavier conversation began. Full story is linked below or on my channel.